Seiko. This is a really lovely watch by Seiko. It's got the 5625 movement in it, and in this video I'm going to do a complete disassembly and a service of this lovely watch. So let's get on with the video. And here it is, the very impressive King Seiko High Beat. This is a sort of late 1960s, early 1970s model. Very nice watch. Just a few things to point out. It has a Hardlex crystal in it, and I'm just trying to catch. You can see it's quite scratched. So that's something that we may want to sort out with the service. I do need to confirm that with the owner of the watch, what they want me to do with that. Let's have a look at the back, because these King Seikos have this really nice sort of gold logo on the back here. And just looking at the movement number, you know, it's a 5625. Which beats at 28,800 beats an hour in a case which is the 7110, which is a one-piece case, so the back doesn't come off. Okay, and it actually tells you there. It says open through glass, push set lever, pull stem. Okay. So it's giving the watchmaker an idea of what they've got to do, so they don't start trying to hack away at the back here, which would be silly and fruitless. So okay, now often with these one-piece backs, there is a method of opening, going through the glass, with which you use this kind of tool here. Which is a crystal grab, and you put it over the crystal and you will pop it out. That's fine if the crystal isn't actually crystal, it's acrylic, and a lot of the watches, Lordmatics and that sort of thing, are fitted with that, and that is the way of getting in to that particular type of case. In this instance, we're talking about a very hard crystal, and the compression tool that I just showed you is not going to cut the mustard at all. So we're going to have to go in via a different way, and therein lies, if you're unfamiliar with these, the first problem, because if you look around the watch and you look for somewhere to sort of get in and pop off the bezel and the glass, you can see here that we do have this bezel running around here. Okay, so if you can pop that off, the glass will come with it, and then you can carry on with the instructions on the back of the case. Push the lever and pop out the stem, and the movement will come out. But there isn't anywhere obvious. Okay, now a general guiding rule of watchmaking is that if there will always be a way in. The manufacturers, the people designing the watches, will have borne in mind that there is a maintenance issue here, and what you have to do is take stock and look for it, he said, kicking the tripod. And so and in this case the bezel pops off, but the location of the little area where you can insert your bezel removal tool is hidden, and it's hidden, can't remember which one actually, it's hidden under one of these bracelet holders between the lugs, kind of where the serial number would be on a Rolex. So the first thing that we're going to have to do, or we would do that anyway, is remove the bracelet and locate that, get our tool in there and pop off the bezel and the crystal. So we're going to do that in a minute, but the first thing that we're going to look at before we do that is actually what is wrong with this watch. And these Seikos, the quick date change is on the first position out. So if we pull that out to the first position and move it, the date should change. Okay, and as you can see, I'm moving it both ways here. It does absolutely nothing. Okay, pop it back in and it winds nicely. These King Seikos wind really nicely because of the design. The crown here is quite easily accessible, so that's good. But again, pop it out to the first position, and we got no quick date change, which is a bit rubbish. And put it all the way out, and we can set the watch. Okay, and interestingly as well, there is a little bit of stiffness, I would say, a little bit of resistance, which is good when you're trying to set something. You don't want it too sloppy, right? And it's also important in the design of the movement, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So the jobs here are a complete service of this watch. We are going to fix up the quick date change mechanism and make sure that the watch is changing the date on its own at midnight. And once I've been in touch with my man Alec, who owns this watch, and confirm what he wants me to do with the crystal, we may very well be either swapping that out for a hard Lex if we can get one, although that's quite tricky, or we might be putting some sapphire in there, or we might be polishing it up. We've got a number of options there. So let's get to it. First thing we're going to do is pop this on the time graph and just see what the performance of the movement is like before we start the service of this watch. And here is the King Seiko then on the time grapher. Let's turn it on and see what we've got. It'll take just a second there while it's figuring stuff out. Okay. So the time grapher quite correctly has figured out the beat rate, but actually just noticing there that the lift angle that is set on the time grapher is wrong. So I'm just going to change that now. So let's just stop that. The default lift angle is 52 degrees, and for this movement the lift angle is 56 degrees. So we'll just go into the menu and up the lift angle there, so we get a more accurate reading. Okay, let's start that. Do that again. Okay, not a huge amount of difference. So what's this telling us? It's telling us that the amplitude is not bad. We've got about 213 degrees. It's telling us that the beat error is under half a millisecond, which is also tolerable. And it's telling us that the watch is losing in that position at least about 47 seconds a day. It's also telling us that the watch is really, it's beating nice and strong and regular. Look at the, it's like it's on rails there. Let's just try it in a different position. Just try it with dial up. And really, there's not a lot of difference. Let's try it with the pendant to the right. Okay. So the theory behind these high beat watches is that the changing position of the watch doesn't affect the amplitude and the accuracy of the watch as much as if it was beating at a slower rate. And you can see here that, you know, that theory really does actually pan out, because this is, it's a nice beat. It's you know, there's not much wrong with the actual movement inside there. It does need some regulation, and it would be nice to trim the beat error down to more like, you know, 0.2, 0.1 of a millisecond, and get the variation in a day down to more like a chronometer. So, you know, we're going to be looking for sub 10 seconds a day, maybe even sub 5 seconds a day in all the positions. So, you know, that's a job we've got on there. By no means is this watch in bad nick, but hey, it's a King Seiko, and it needs to work like a King Seiko with the date working and everything. So that's our preliminary stuff done. Let's get it open and get on with the service. So we have the bracelet off, and we're looking here between the lugs, and you can just see that like semicircle inlet in there below the bezel. That is where we're going to insert the tool to pop off the bezel. So I'm just going to do that now and come back to this when I have finished that. And there it is with the bezel removed and the stem pulled out, which is why the watch has stopped. Let's just push that in there a second, and there we go. And off she goes again. Yeah, it's pretty gunky. There's quite a lot of dirt and muck underneath the bezel there. But you'd expect that, you know, this watch might not have been serviced for 25 years. There's also a rubber seal between where the glass and the case fit in. And that looks like a good candidate for replacing. I'll check it out, see if it's in reasonable condition, but if I can get one exactly the right size, then I will replace it. If not, I will lubricate the one with silicone that we've got. It's actually not in bad condition, but if we can find one exactly the right size, we'll replace it. Okay, so we're just going to lift out the movement now and get on with the service. And there is the movement outside the case. So I've put the stem back in and put the hands to noon or midnight, just to make it easier to lift off the hands with the levers. So that's what I'm going to do now. As always, the key thing to do here is to protect the dial. So we just lay a piece of plastic over the top, find our levers. Got one, got two. Okay, and then just coming here below, try and keep my fingers out of the shot, but just gently below all of the hands and just lever up. Now you can, and there they go. You can get a tool for removing hands. Looks pretty much like this. I prefer to use levers. I think it does a better job, and you have more control over it. So that's the hands removed. We're going to pop off the dial now, and then we can get into the movement. So before removing the dial, I'm actually going to do what I routinely do when I'm doing a service, and that is remove the balance. You can see this is a high beat balance. It's a lovely little movement. It's very clean inside, and it has one retaining screw and two kind of locating pillars. The retaining screw is here, so I'm just going to lift that out and lift the balance out. And there is the movement with the balance out. What I do when I take the balance out is, rather than hang it on a little hanger that you can get for those, is just flip it over so that the balance locates with. I'll just bring that into the shot now like that. Okay, so everything is at rest, nothing's under tension. And yes, so we can be a little bit more confident now when we move around the movement. We're going to start by taking off the dial, and then we'll get into the calendar works and the keyless works first, because we've got to fix up the calendar works. That's one of the most important things to do during this service, so let's get on with that. So with the dial off, we are now inside the movement, and immediately we can see the issue with the date change. And it is the classic issue with this series of movements. Here is the plastic wheel that is used to flick round the date. But if we try and give it a spin here, if I can get my hand in and just try and turn it, okay. It won't, you can see underneath it's turning, okay, but it's not turning the plastic part, which in turn is not turning the calendar wheel. And that's because if you look closely, and just come around the movement so we see a little bit better, there we go, the plastic is broken, okay. It is a plastic part. And it has broken. Just see if I can come in there and just show you where precisely. In fact, let's use a oiler for this and come in here, and you can see right here the plastic part is sheared off. That's because over time the plastic has shrunk, and you know, it comes up against the hard steel there, and pop it goes, and then it will no longer engage with the part of the component below it to turn it, and it just sits there, and the date doesn't change. So happily, Elec, whose watch this is, who sent this to me, he also had sent off for a replacement part, and I have that exact replacement part, so we can get in there now and change that out. All we do is we'll do the full service, and when we put the watch back together we'll put in the new part, and that will be nice and satisfying to see that working again. So we're going to now take apart the calendar works and the keyless works, and then we'll flip the case over and do the automatic works and the main train, power train and regulation. So using a different camera angle for this side of the watch just to help you see. So using a different camera angle for this side of the watch in the hope that it stays in focus a bit better, and that you can see a bit more of what's going on. And I'm going to do the top part of this watch in time lapse. So what you'll see happen is the ratchet wheel come off. I'm going to take out this part of the automatic works here, and then the whole top of this bridge will come out. Then we'll get into the train, remove the train, and finally pop out the pallet cock and the pallet fork, and that's pretty much all there is on this side of the watch. So let's go on with that. And welcome back to the second part of the video that I'm doing on a complete service of a King Seiko with the 5-6-2-5 movement. And you know, here is the main plate of that movement with the train. You know, it's the side where we're going to fit the train, power train, and the barrel and everything in a moment. We have put the parts through the ultrasonic cleaner, and they are all now laid out here. You can see there, you know, to the left, some of the keyless works, and then we've got calendar works, and then we've got the hands, Here we've got the calendar ring spring. We've got the barrel, which has been completely cleaned with a new spring in it. We've got the stem there. Up here, there's the date wheel. We've got the plate that covers the calendar works, and then in here you can see the powertrain, the pallet fork, and you know, the oscillating weight, and the top plate there. What we got in there? We got some screws for the top plate there. Okay, and the Hardlex crystal and bezel, and I haven't shown you, but somewhere here we've also got the case. Leastways we better have, or I will have an issue when I get to that bit. Anyway, not to worry, case is here. In fact, there it is. Voila, we also have the case there. Okay, so we are now, we've cleaned the watch, it's all gone through the electronic cleaner, and we're going to start putting the watch back together now. And there she is, the finished article. I did actually have to replace the stem because it had a little issue with it. It was slightly bent, and there was a chunk missing out of it. And I have also replaced the Hardlex crystal with some sapphire of exactly the same profile. So this is the fully working, serviced and regulated King Seiko with the caliber 5625, totally finished and looking very, very lovely. So if you like my videos, then please subscribe. I'm trying to get as many subscribers at the moment as I can, and yeah, lots more videos coming your way soon. So I hope you like this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because I've plenty more like it coming your way soon. But from the watch bench here in Pembroke Dock, don't know whether you can hear that. Well, that's my dogs kicking off there. That's it.